What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Man, I got up early this morning to watch a little NFL action. Came on around about, I think it was like 8:30 Houston time. And I was wanting to watch Christian McCaffrey, man. That's what I was really wanting to watch, man. He's having a hell of a year so far this season, man. MVP type of season, as I have him number one as of right now. And as far as MVP candidate, I got him number one. I got Russell Wilson number two. But it's getting close now because Russell, he played another magnificent game against the Cleveland Browns. And Christian McCaffrey, didn't put up a lot of gaudy numbers against Tampa Bay as they focused on slowing him down. I think he had like 31 yards rushing and maybe around 26 yards receiving. But I think he did score 2 touchdowns. So his impact was still profound in that game. But I watched Jameis Winston's in the game. Jameis Winston. He was the number one pick in the 2015 NFL draft out of Florida State, Heisman Trophy winner. And his rookie year, he showed that he had a lot to learn. I think he threw around 18 touchdowns, I think around 10 interceptions. So his touchdown to interception ratio was less than 2-1. But he showed some promise at the start of the season. Now kind of struggling. He really struggled, especially in that first game against Marcus Mariota. That was a battle of number one picks, the number one and number two pick in the first round. And Marcus Mariota outplayed him. But he struggled his rookie year. But his second year, he had a real good year, in my opinion. I think he had 28 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. He led Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a 9-7 record. They came very close to getting a wild card berth. I think they might have missed it by maybe one game, or maybe they lost out on a tiebreaker, but they came up real close to getting in the playoffs. And he showed a lot of promise. But ever since the 2016 season, his play has been subpar. 2018, 2017, 2019 season. Those 3 seasons after 2016 has been very mediocre play by Jameis Winston. And I think after this performance today in London, 5 interceptions. Man, had a turnover in the pocket when he got sacked. So he had 1 turnover and 5 interceptions. So he had 6 total turnovers in the game against Carolina Panthers, and he single-handedly lost the game for the Buccaneers. It's time for Jameis Winston to go to the bench. In bigger picture, it's time for Jameis Winston era in Tampa Bay Buccaneers to come to a close. It's time. They gave him ample opportunity. He was coming into this season in a quarterback-friendly offense by Coach Arrington. You see what he did with Carson Palmer, resurrected his career from Oakland Raiders when he looked at like he was on his last legs. He did a good job with him. He's known as a quarterback guru. Did a good job with Andrew Luck in Indianapolis. So he's did a good job with Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh. So he's a quarterback guru, but he doesn't seem to be able to change Winston's turnover problems. Winston is in the pocket, still looking for the big plays, still looking to get the ball down the field instead of when it ain't there, checking the ball down to the flat, to the running back, or to the tight end. He's steady hanging on to the ball, taking turnovers in the pocket, getting stripped because he's holding on to the ball too long, trying to force the ball downfield, getting picked off. Hasn't learned. Coach Arrington don't seem to be able to get through his head to not turn the ball over. You got to be ball safety first. Sometimes you can't be looking for the big play all the time. Sometimes it's okay to check it down and get 4 or 5 yards and keep your offense on schedule. But he's failing to do that. And it's time for them to go to the backup quarterback. Their backup quarterback is Ryan Griffin. Blaine Gafford dislocated his shoulder, I think, or his arm, whatever it was. He's out. But Ryan Griffin out of Tulane is unproven. We don't know if he's the answer, but they need to put him out there and let him play. And I'm gonna talk about another controversial player that they need to probably bring in. A lot of people might not like it because of his their views on him kneeling. But Colin Kaepernick is out there. I would bring him in. I would start with Ryan Griffin because he's familiar with the offense. He knows the system. I would let him play and show what he can do. But I would be bringing in Colin Kaepernick as a backup quarterback. Until he learns, he'll be the 3rd string quarterback until he learns the offense and gets familiar with the offense. And I'll be looking to put him in there if Ryan Griffin if Ryan Griffin shows that he can't handle the job. So that's what I'll be looking at, man. It's time for Jameis Winston era to be over with in Tampa Bay. It's time for you to move on, find out what you have in Ryan Griffin, bring in Colin Kaepernick, as the eventual backup, and I'll put Jameis Winston on the back burner for right now because he's just not showed that he's capable of being a top level or even above average. He ain't got to be a top level quarterback, just above average, turnover free type of quarterback. He's just not shown that none of his season. Even the year that I just mentioned, the 2016 season, when he threw 28 touchdowns, he still threw 18 interceptions, which is too high. And his touchdown to interception ratio in his best year, 2016, was still not 2-1. So his interceptions has always been a problem, and don't seem like it's getting no better. It's getting worse. So it's time for the organization to go in a different direction. And I will be starting Ryan Griffin in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next game. I don't know who they play next week. I haven't looked at the schedule, but I don't know. I would assume that they're going to, now that I think about it, my bad, they're going to be a bye week because, they played over there in London, and usually when the teams play in London, they have a bye week after that. So I don't know who they'll be playing in 2 weeks, but it's time to get Ryan Griffin in there and let him play and see what you got in Ryan Griffin, quarterback out of Tulane. They ran a pass-happy offense in Tulane. He put up some good numbers there. But, Tulane, that's Conference USA, so that's a big step up from Conference USA to the NFL. But see what you got in him. Maybe you might find a diamond in the rough. But it's time for Jameis Winston to go to the bench, and really it's time for him to go away. And it's time for you to turn the page on the Jameis Winston era in Tampa Bay, man. It's time to move on. If I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers ownership, I will lay down the gauntlet tonight probably. As soon as they get back, soon they touch down in Tampa Bay from London, I would pull the coach in and tell him, say, look here, man, it's time for us to go in another direction. I would pull Coach Arrington into the office and say, look, man, it's time to go in a different direction. Maybe Arrington already might be thinking about that on the long plane ride back to Tampa Bay. He might already come to that decision. But if he hasn't, I would sure be telling them, hey, man, it's time to, I don't want to dip into the, owner, this old saying what Bill Parcells said, owners own, coaches coach, and players play. So you don't want the owner to kind of override the coach, but at the same time, it comes to we at a point of no return right now. I'll be like, if I'm the owner, I'm like, I don't want to dip into your business. I'm trying to tell you what to do, but we're at a point of no return now. We're having a meeting at the crossroads. Meeting at the crossroads. And we're having a meeting at the crossroads. It's time to make that change. As Michael Jackson said in his album that sold a lot of records, a lot of copies. It's time to look at that man in the mirror. It's time to make that change. And it's time to change from Jameis Winston and move on from him. And like I said, Ryan Griffin will be starting in 2 weeks if I'm the coach there. He'll be starting in 2 weeks for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'll be bringing in Colin Kaepernick, and I'll be trying to get him up to speed in the offense to take over in case Ryan Griffin shows that he can't handle the job. So we'll see what happens, man. The team looks kind of lifeless. They're 2-4. They're looking kind of lifeless. They were my projection, going into the season. I actually projected Tampa Bay Buccaneers to make the playoffs as a wild card. I think I had them in Seattle as my 2 wild card participants, and I think I had Dallas winning the East. I had New Orleans winning the South. I had Chicago winning the North, and I had the Rams winning the West. We'll see how that plans out. There's a lot of football left to be played. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers is one of the teams I had as my sleeper team, but it don't seem like they're heading anywhere near what I projected them to be. So, maybe they can find lightning in the bottle, bring in Ryan Griffin. He can give a spark to the team because right now, man, they're a team that's going nowhere fast, and they need a change. They need a change in the command structure, and that starts with the quarterback that's that's taking snaps behind the center, and that quarterback should now be Ryan Griffin from the University of Tulane, Green Waves. That should be the starting quarterback, and I'll be on the phone calling the guy that's going to spark a lot of controversy if and when he does come back to the NFL, and that's Colin Kaepernick. I'll be bringing him in to back up, he'll probably be starting in as a third-string quarterback, but I'll be trying to get him up to speed with the offense that Arrington likes to run. And he'll be on standby, basically being the bullpen, like a bullpen pitcher. In case Ryan Griffin struggles, I'll be bringing in Colin Kaepernick to maybe see if he can bring in a spark. So that's just my 2 cents on it. We'll see what happens, what transpires. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are sitting here 2-4. They're behind the Saints. The Saints are going to run away with this division at 5-1. You got Carolina right there at 4-2, and those 2 teams haven't played together, so it looks like played against each other. They got 2 games, a home and home with each other, so it looks like those 2 games, It's going to be real critical as far as who wins that division and maybe who ends up in the wild card slot. And then you fall off the map after those two teams from Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Both of those teams having issues with the quarterback with Tampa Bay and with the head coach in Atlanta. So we'll see what happens, man. But that's my 2 cents. Jameis Winston, again, should go to the bench. And they should bring in Ryan Griffin, the backup quarterback out of Tulane, and get on the phone and call Carter Kaepernick and bring him in as well. So we'll see what happens. This is JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.